Hey, good afternoon, class. Good Saturday afternoon. Welcome back to Introductory Psychology. I can't believe I'm holding it together right now because as I speak, a few moments ago, the OU Texas game just ended in a very heartbreaking fashion for myself and many others across the state of Oklahoma. OU lost in a really close game. A kick. We lost to a field goal kick at the very end after coming back from like 3 touchdowns down. So I guess in one sense we should be happy that hey we even got close enough to come back, but also we should be pretty disappointed we lost in the first place because OU's the favorite going into the game, and it's rather unfortunate. But there's more games to play, and we'll see. We're got a lot more football to play, so I'm optimistic. I think Oklahoma State plays. I can't remember who it is. Maybe Iowa State, tonight. So hopefully we'll get a win from Oklahoma State. So somebody in this state can have a win because it wasn't working out for the Sooners today, much to my chagrin. So, anyways, welcome back. We are in week number 8. We're getting really close to the halfway point. So this week, the exam, as I speak, is already open. It opened up this morning, Saturday morning. It'll be open until the 15th. Not this Monday, but the Monday after. That's the 15th. It'll be open until 11:59 p.m. That exam covers chapters 5 through 8, and it's very similar to the last exam in the sense that there are 50 multiple choice questions. There's no time limit. There's about 12 to 13 questions per chapter. So, and I tried to make those questions to be as application-based as possible. You'll get real-world application of the terminology from the text. I don't really so much care that you know the definition of something. I'm much more interested in if you can apply it in a real-world context. So, and that's kind of why I think I really like the discussion posts and the response papers, because it gets you to think about these ideas and how they fit into your own life and how they fit into just the real world. They're not just some abstract ideas from a textbook, but they fit into your experience and many others. So, so I think that's sort of that helps us learn. If we can put it in our own context and our own understanding, it's much more likely to stick than just rote memorization of just terms from a textbook. If they don't have any application to our lives, then they're just it's harder to remember that stuff. Anyways, that's straight out of the chapter 6 of memory, what we just covered. So anyways, the exam's open until the 15th. This week you should be reading chapter 8 if you haven't done so. If you haven't already started chapter 8, some people like to read ahead. It's not expected, but if you haven't started chapter number 8, you need to do so. It's one of my favorite chapters that we cover in the textbook. It's called Motivation and Emotion. Motivation and emotion, 2 very big, broad topics. I actually, I teach a class at the University of Oklahoma to our pre-service teachers, people who are wanting to become teachers. I teach a class on motivational theory, which is, so I feel like I have a pretty strong background in this subject of motivation. Motivation is a really abstract concept. There's, you can easily identify when you feel motivated or when you don't feel motivated. I think that's all something that we qualitatively understand, but motivation is not this tangible quality or concept that that we can see directly, in the sense that I can't hook anybody up to a machine and get a reading of their motivation, but I can infer their motivation based on behavior. I can infer your motivation in this class based upon how often you post and how, do you turn things in on time and your exam scores and things like that. So we don't necessarily tap into this construct directly. It's very abstract. And so, motivation, you're going to be looking at getting kind of a definition of motivation, sort of just this it's sort of an energizing of our behavior. It's what directs and energizes our behavior. It's a very abstract concept that psychologists have come up with, but it definitely is a powerful construct. Like I said, there are days you probably feel motivated and days you don't feel motivated, and those are very different experiences. I know as a student and as a teacher, there are days some days I'm really motivated to learn and to teach and all that, and there's other days I'm not. And I can definitely tell the differences in my behavior. It's very differently. And it's like when I'm feeling not motivated, I got to really figure out, okay, how do I get motivated? Do I just need an extra cup of coffee? Do I need a break? What do I got to do? We all have different ways of motivating ourselves. So this chapter, after you get done reading it, you should have a pretty good idea about motivation, a broad understanding of what it is, different perspectives on motivation, including like satisfying needs, drives and incentives. Like extrinsic incentives like rewards, praise, things like that. They're very motivating. You're also going to look at some different theories of motivation. Some you may have heard of, some you may not have, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maybe you've seen the triangle the different needs that are with self-actualization at the top. Maybe you've seen that. Maybe you haven't. If it's the first time you've seen it, it's a pretty neat theory. It's according to Maslow, we're all trying to become the best version of ourselves. And I think that's very true to some extent. But you'll read about that theory and many others. You'll also look at two of the things that are easily the most motivating things to human beings, and that's food and sex. Human beings, we are biological organisms when it comes down to it, albeit we might be at the top of the hierarchy in terms of, our advanced brain power, but we are also subject to biological forces like hunger and sex. So you'll read about both of those things, and how they contribute to motivation. You'll also look at achievement motivation, which I think is a topic that should be very relevant to all of you because you're in college. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a high degree, I think, of achievement motivation. You want to achieve something. You want to do better for yourself. And I think that's evident by the fact that you are here enrolled in this class right now. So give it up for yourselves. Maybe it doesn't seem like it's a big deal right now, but you are achieving something. You're working towards something, your future self. And I think that's awesome. So you'll read a little bit about achievement motivation. And then finally, we're going to switch gears and talk about emotions, how they're expressed. Emotions are really interesting. Emotions aren't just the feels. There are cognitive components to emotion, such as appraisal. Do we interpret the situation as threatening, or is it fun? Is it like the same how two people interpret a test? One person is maybe excited because it feels like a challenge, and another person appraises it to be a threat. Oh my gosh, I'm not prepared, I don't know what to do. That's a cognitive aspect of emotion. Then there's behavioral. If you are the student who is excited about the test because you feel prepared, you're going to come to the test ready and excited, and you got your stuff ready and you're prepared. Whereas the person who is anxious and worried about the test, maybe they are kind of, I'm going to avoid this like the plague. If I'll take it on the last day if I have to, because I want to avoid this. There are obviously affective components to emotions. Our motivation is tied to emotions. That's why these two topics are in one chapter. There's a lot of overlap between motivation and emotion. And then finally, you're going to read about some different theories of emotion. There are three sort of competing emotions that you'll read about. They are James Longa, Cannon Bard, and then Schachter and Singer's two-factor theory, which is called cognitive appraisal theory. Read about those three. Honestly, they're very different theories, but they're trying to explain the same thing. So I don't necessarily think one theory is right or wrong, or they're kind of building onto each other. So think of it that way. They're sort of building on top of each other. So read about that. You'll also read about polygraphs. Some really interesting stuff, I think, some really fascinating stuff, polygraph tests, and why there's a lot of reason to be skeptical about their use. So you'll read about that. I don't want to spoil everything in the chapter for you, but so read chapter 8 before you take the exam. Obviously, please don't, take the exam before reading chapter 8. That wouldn't be wise. You might be able to guess your way through it, but I wouldn't recommend it. So for this week, there is no discussion post or response paper for chapter 8. I just want you to read the chapter and then complete the exam. You have until the 15th. To complete the exam. That's a Monday night at 11:59 p.m. Please do not wait until the last moment, because, as I mentioned before, if you wait until the last moment and you're taking the exam, let's say you're like halfway through and it's 11:59, the clock ticks 11:59, exam shuts off, whether you were done or not, and you were scored accordingly. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you out there. That's kind of a time management lesson for you. But so far that hasn't been a problem. But I'm trying to warn ahead of time in the event that it doesn't become a problem in the future. So that's about it. Please respond to my email this week if you have any questions, any concerns. I'm really enjoying reading, getting to know each of you each week through your discussion posts and your response papers. They're very helpful for me, and they, demonstrate your understanding, and they really show me that you're thinking about these ideas and you're applying them in your own context. So that's the best way to learn something. So yeah, anyways, I'll leave it to you. Go enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Okay, take care. Bye.